I have been watching many videos targeting the Gen Z generation that calls them lazy, unemployable, addict, or plain and simple lazy. And there is so much garbage opinions in these videos that it will make you believe that the Talk to Our podcast is actually a life-changing podcast that we all should listen to. There is so much brain rot content in these opinions that it will make you believe that KSI's Thick of It song is actually a masterpiece. Now, a fair disclaimer to the video, if you have decided to hate the Gen Z generation, then there is no value for you in this video. I don't think I can do anything to change your mind about this if you have decided to hate them. And these are just opinions, not facts. So I wanted to take some time out of my regular style videos and wanted to discuss some of the claims and opinions that gets thrown on the Gen Z generation and calls them the doomed generation. So the number one opinion that gets thrown on the Gen Z generation is their addiction to social media. And I just wanted to ask if other generations are free from this addiction. In my own experience, I have been around groups of people well over their 40s and 50s and in some cases 60s, and I have found them and I have seen them not being able to take their eyes off of their mobile phones. Facebook, that's the application that they are on, which is the primary reason why the Gen Z generation doesn't use Facebook as much, because who wants to be like, hey guys, I'm gonna get drunk tonight at 10 p.m. and have that post seen by their mom? But that's another issue. The addiction of social media onto Gen Z people feels very targeted. It feels very pinpointed, as if it's only the Gen Z generation that is addicted to social media and no other generation is, which is obviously false. We have all seen people around ourselves that have their own platforms that they are addicted on and they just watch content on it all day, whether it's Instagram Reels, whether it's Facebook, whether it is Discord, whether it is any other third-party app like, let's say, Metrics. We have all seen it. So why bother targeting the Gen Z generation and calling them out on their social media? I can speak from my experience that I was addicted to Facebook when I was 16 years old and it was the youngster platform. It was very hip at the time, but with time I moved away from it. Why can't we be more empathetic towards Gen Z generation and hope for them to move away from these platforms and do something that is fulfilling to them? So the second opinion is the drive for success and how it lacks in the Gen Z generation. And again, I would like to point out, do the older generations not have this problem? Have we not seen unsuccessful people in the millennial generation or Gen X or boomer generation? Why are we assuming that all the people that have been born before the Gen Z generation are free from the addictions and all of them are successful? Why are we assuming all of this? Okay, so let's talk about the dopamine and how easily it's available for the Gen Z generation, which lessens the drive for success in them. Did this not exist in millennial generation? Did video games not exist before social media? Did cartoons not exist before social media that gave us the dopamine? I can speak from my own experience that I used to rush back from my school to my home just to watch Dexter's Laboratory at 5 p.m. every night on Fox Kids, if any of you remember that. Were there not video games around? Where there was not any like Super Mario or Snow Brothers or Contra, games like that that gave us our dopamine addiction? Were we not hooked on it all day? I can speak from my own experience that in my school days, I was very hooked to video games, pretty much why I'm interested in computer science and I have a career in it. I used to get my dopamine from playing video games, and now that has been substituted to social media, where it actually gives us an opportunity to interact with other people. Internet is toxic, I get it, but at least it gives us that opportunity. And that's the third point I want to bring up, which is the in-person communication and the magic of it. The one thing that we ignore about the Gen Z generation is that their alcohol and cigarette consumption has actually gone down compared to millennial and boomer generations and the generations before it. Gen Z generation doesn't believe in doing hard drugs as much as the older generations did. Why can't we appreciate them for this specific attribute that is very specific to Gen Z generation? Yes, we were in the generation that believed in in-person communication and we refilled our social batteries that way. But that also resulted in consumption of hard drugs. It resulted in consumption of alcohol, cigarettes, clubbing, going out, engaging in drunk driving situations. But rather than appreciating Gen Z generation for their decline in these activities, we are attacking them and calling them unsocial or asocial or being like they don't believe in friends anymore. It almost seems like the bullying of Gen Z generation equivalent to the same bullying that some skinny guy in a gym feels from a bodybuilder. Like that bodybuilder goes to the skinny guy and just being like, bro, you don't even have muscles. Do you even lift? We don't practice empathy towards the Gen Z generation and we don't mentor them. There is no talk of training or something like that in startup ecosystem anymore, because everybody just believes them to be job ready since day one, because all these courses are available on YouTube and they should just watch them and be job ready. But that's not the case. Sometimes people do need individual mentoring, but we don't do that. We rather attack them for something that they cannot control, which is their born year, and we ridicule them for it. Now, I don't mean to say that all Gen Z generation people are perfect. That's not true either. But when we talk about people not being employable, that's a people problem. That's not a generation problem. It's not like the millennial generation, all of them were employable. It's not like the boomer generation were all consisted of competent people who were brilliant at coding. They weren't. Let's just face it. It's actually a percentage of people that gets the label of intelligent or genius. Rest of them are not that. And that's not a generation problem. That's a people problem. We all are different. And that is something that doesn't get realized when we talk about Gen Z generation, as if they are the only generation that has these problems. No other generations ever had it. They need us to rise up and end this cycle. It almost feels like some older guy wasn't able to relate to Gen Z slangs and their culture and their lifestyles, and they started hating them for it. And they started making videos about how this generation is doomed. If we really talk about it, everybody is doomed. Whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are an employee, whether you are a company owner, we all are doomed in the same economy. And rather than being the example that rises up and ends this cycle for them, we rather ridicule them and we rather attack them, because these videos are negative bias towards Gen Z, and obviously they will get views, which is why I want to talk to the Gen Z community, because my Discord community is mostly Gen Z people, and I can assume that most of my subscribers are Gen Z generation. That please ignore this hate that gets thrown on you. It's not like any generation before you was absolutely perfect. You are a keyword in the YouTube algorithm, and you can accuse me of it, it's fine. But Gen Z targeted videos is something that YouTube algorithm is pushing now. And given my demographic, Gen Alpha doesn't watch my videos, and I can just say that Gen Alpha, you are next. Just wait until you get to the age of 22 or 24 or 26, in that range. Because when you are in that age range, you will see a lot of videos targeting you, because you will be the next keyword in the YouTube algorithm. But all in all, we should practice empathy for Gen Z generation. We should be mentors to them. We should tell them the mistakes that we made so that they don't end up making them. And it seems like my own experience with Gen Z generation has been very positive. I don't relate to the negative side of Gen Z or the attacking of Gen Z people in my own community. I have found them to be way more enthusiastic than previous generations. At least that's what my experience has been. I have found them to be very open-minded. I have found them to be very enthusiastic about tech. I have found them to be very mature in some cases. Shout out Alpha. So basically that's the message that I want to say. The cycle should end here and we must be better. That's a God of War reference, but anyway. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. And that's about it. See you in the next one.